Welcome back, people, to the Blues Feed. The same obsession, new episode. Today, we're going to be talking about all of the news that's been going on, transfer wise, the double Dutch that's pending, how we're shaping up from a squad perspective, and where we think we could compete in the league and in all competitions. Before we jump in, I just want to remind everybody to hit the subscribe button. We're giving away a Chelsea 25-26 jersey as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So yeah, like and comment, and you'll be entered. The first thing we're going to talk about is Alexander Isak. We obviously had the bomber yesterday that he's handed in a transfer request once everybody else has signed a striker, um, and the reports come out that obviously Chelsea aren't interested. What's your thoughts, Luke? One, overall on the transfer itself, and then two, what's your thoughts on if it's true that Chelsea aren't interested?
Yeah, I think I found it quite funny initially, just the timing of it. The fact that he's waited till almost the pen is on the paper for Gyökeres at Arsenal to decide he wants to leave Newcastle. So he clearly didn't want to go there. Yeah, I think it's about time, to be honest. Obviously, he's got Newcastle back into the Champions League twice, along with obviously his teammates, but he is the star man over there. And they're having such a terrible transfer window that they're just not strengthening the squad and doing what they need to do to keep him, which is building a team around him, and they're just not doing that. If anything, they've weakened this window by losing depth. They've lost depth, and they've only really added Anthony Elanga, which is a superb signing, to be fair. But overall, yeah, it's not ideal for Newcastle, and I can see exactly why he wants out. Um, I don't buy the rumours that Chelsea aren't interested, to be honest with you, mate. I think especially the way it will come out, every journalist that is of any sort of reputation to the wider audience came out within 10 minutes of each other and pretty much all said the exact same thing. The typical briefing that we're used to when Chelsea want to get something out, and it's never played cleverly. It's always so uh, stupid, really, the way they do it, because they get everybody to say the same thing, and it just makes no sense. Like, if you're gonna do that, at least go to Ben Jacobs first, give it an hour or so, then go to Fab, etc., etc. Try and make it not too obvious. Don't get all of them releasing at the same time, and that, if anything, makes me more sure that we're interested. I don't by any means think we'll act on the interest, and I don't feel like, even if we were going to act on it, I don't feel like we would do it publicly, which is why they'd probably do something like what they've done. So even we may not be interested, and I might have the wrong end of the stick. That's completely plausible. But my real thoughts are we are interested. We probably either know the conditions of the deal or have asked for the conditions of the deal, and we'll make a decision upon that. And if it was to be done, it would be done in complete silence in the background, because that's not a deal they'd want played out publicly after the embarrassment of Victor Osimhen and Michael Elise last summer. So I don't think we'll end up with Osimhen, as much as I'd love us to, but I'd be very, very surprised if Chelsea aren't at least intrigued by the thought of signing him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I agree with everything you said there. I think it's quite hilarious that Eddie Howe pushed out the sporting director and then he has not got any of the targets he wants. The Isak leaving, it reminds me a little bit like when we had Hazard and we just failed to build around him, but they don't have the fact it's London, the fact it's Chelsea to kind of keep a player. I think it's weird timing from him. If I was him and I was absolutely gunning to go, I would have been putting a transfer request in at the first day of going on holiday because Chelsea bought Pedro and were in for a striker, and Arsenal wanted a striker, and Man United wanted a striker, and Liverpool wanted a striker. So all of a sudden, you kind of limited yourself. Obviously, Liverpool might still be interested. I think Chelsea are definitely still interested. I think it's one of two things: one, they don't see value in it, or can't do it until they've sold Felix and Kunku, Jackson, etc. Or two, he only has eyes for Liverpool. So when they asked the question about it, they got, well, our preference is to go to Liverpool. If we can't go to Liverpool, we're happy to have a conversation. Um, and then it might be something that comes up later if Liverpool can't get the deal over the line. So we know Chelsea were interested in Isak last summer. They tried to get him last year. we know that he's probably the best overall nine in the world outside of maybe Harry Kane, but I'd probably still prefer Isak over Harry Kane. So Chelsea will be interested in that type of player. He's only 25, so he fits within the age structure. And regardless of the reports of him wanting 300 grand a week, I think he wants 300 grand a week to stay at Newcastle, not overall. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool get 250 or Chelsea could get him on something like a 250, 200, 250 kind of deal. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, pretty much, mate. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
there's.
think the thing from our perspective is that we've always heard that they want a marquee signing, and
Mhm.
obviously we've signed players for marquee amounts of money, a la Enzo, Caicedo, etc. But those players have all sort of grown with the shirt, really, and grown with the team and the way that the club have sort of come back to our sort of winning ways, especially in the last month or so. That we've always heard, even initially, there was like Neymar talks, Ronaldo talks. Like we've always wanted to sign one of the current top players in the world. Isak is one of those, and probably the best opportunity we've had to at least try and do that, especially in the last couple of years. So I just don't buy the not interested thing, and I think if they could do the deal, they would. Like you say, it's just what are the reasons why we potentially cannot do the deal, or can we? But we've just got to wait a little bit of time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's my guess would be it's Liverpool are in the front seat. He wants to go to Liverpool, and if Liverpool cannot get the deal over the line, or if they take too long, or if we get all our sales done and we might enter the race a bit later on, then yeah, then we'll get involved. But they don't want to be publicly looking for Isak and then look like Liverpool with Caicedo and Lavia and not being able to get the deal over the line. So.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But yeah. On to kind of more positive things from a Chelsea perspective. Obviously, we've got double Dutch pending, João Hato and Xavi Simon. Both deals progressing in the background. I've personally heard that both are pretty much there right up until the end of the thing, and it's finer details or it's further ahead than the media are talking about. I would imagine Hato is kind of add-ons related and how much that is and how they're done and maybe the structure of the payments. And I think Xavi Simons is held up a little bit by them interested in another player at Chelsea. So trying to kind of get a better deal for him. They probably have a broad understanding of what they need, and then seeing what they might like in kind of return. The Carney Chukwuemeka side of things, or a Broya who they've been interested in before, or I don't know, maybe a Mark Guiu on loan or something like that. I think is probably what's holding things up, should I say? But both very positive transfers. We spoke about them individually, but I think they take us to the next level. What's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really happy with them, and like you say, from what we know, they're all but done. I think from what I've seen, it looks like Jarell Hato, the fixed fee is sort of agreed now, and it is just those add-ons that are being discussed. So I'd be surprised if we're not talking about medicals by this time next week, or if not even further down the line, probably for both players. And yeah, like you say, the Xavi Simons one's almost done as well. I know they're interested in Broya, Chukwuemeka, and Kunku, as well as Gu and Josh Achimpong on loan. They're interested in both of those players as well. But it'd be interesting to see. I think Carney going there still makes the absolute most sense, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If he wants to go there, I know he wants to go back to Dortmund ideally, but they only want a loan. So if they aren't going to change their stance on a loan without an obligation or something like that, then he might have to have a look at his other options, and that's where Leipzig come into play. But I'm really excited by the Simmons deal. I think he will do wonders in this team, playing that like left wing / left 10 role. He's so creative. He's going to score all goals for fun. He's going to create for fun. He's going to work hard. So I think he pushes us up to the next level, and potentially even kind of outside title chances, like challenging for that. And then I think Jurel Hato is such a good talent, as well as cover for Cucurella and also Colwell. But I also wouldn't be surprised if come the end of the season, even Hato is kind of pushing Cucurella out of the side because he's that good.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. And the thing that I like the most about it, and I mentioned it when we spoke the other day, is I just really like that feeling of signing two players of a similar age from the same nationality. It brings that extra sort of togetherness to the group. It'll help them both settle in because they're coming at the same time. They know each other, and they've immediately got a friend there. Obviously, they'll be welcomed into the group. I'd imagine quite fine. And yeah, I just think that the way we've gone about it has been really nice.
Yeah, I mean, similar age, same nationality, where they all speak, they both speak multiple languages as well. It means that they're gonna settle into the squad quite nicely. They're gonna be able to communicate quite easily, and they're gonna have that kind of that person they probably know from youth level football or even and also the men's national team. So they're gonna settle in well. It's good players as well. So yeah, I just can't see why
I
any of
just
them don't
think
do well.
they're definitely profiles that we've needed for a little while. Generally, overall, we needed anybody who could replace Kukurea to a good level, and I think Hato is definitely that. But just the profile of him is just definitely what we need and what we can use to benefit us long term. And his ceiling is quite frankly ridiculous. And then Xavi Simons is quite versatile within that attacking unit, and that's definitely the route we're going down. If you look at the players we've signed in that area of the field, bar Liam Delap, who is obviously an out and out nine, we're signing versatile attackers who are quality in multiple positions, and that is it's just it's filling gaps. It's preparing for times when you could have injuries, or you at Christmas you might have 3 games in a week, and you might be able to completely change it up. And Simmons might play left, he might be rested, he might play 10, he could play as a false nine. Like, you've got multiple players you can play in multiple positions, and as something we spoke about the other day, and I think we're going to speak about it a little bit more today, is the way it sort of sets our squad up, but also a way of how hard it is tactically to prepare to play against the side when you do not know either A, what their personnel are going to be, and B, what tactical setup they're going to use and how they're going to do that. They might, like for 1 week, we might have Palmer in the 10, you might have Neto and Gittins as touchline wingers. Then you might play Palmer on the right and have Gusto or James overlapping. Like, it's so hard to prepare to play against a team when you don't know what they're going to do. And it's one of the success stories that Graham Potter had at Brighton, that he had one lineup, but they played, I think there was a stat at one point where they played like 9 different formations in a game because of how fluid they were and how they were able to trigger different signs to change formation, to be able to go from having a 3 at the back to a 4 at the back, to having 2 in midfield, to a box midfield, to having your touchline wingers, or maybe they'll be wing backs for a bit, and being able to change all of that in game is massive for any side that needs to find a solution.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I think that takes us nicely on to kind of the next segment we were going to talk about, which is how the squad is shaping up. But it gives everybody it gives Maresca, the options of being able to play loads of different things at the start and then also throughout the game, like you say, and can make it an absolute nightmare for squads and sides to be able to work out what we're going to do or make a game plan for us, because you can be so fluid at the start and in the game. I mean, we've got it on the screen now. You've kind of got two top quality options everywhere, bar probably goalkeeper, which we'll talk about in the middle, but in a moment. Sorry, but Yeah, I mean, if you swapped Pedro for Delap or Palmer for into Simmons in the 10 and you played Estevao out there, or you played Gittins or Neto and left, or Enzo or Lavia, etc., you're not really dropping in quality. It's a completely different situation that we had last year when we had the A and the B squad, where basically the backup 10 was pretty much Simmons, instead of Simmons was KDH or an Nkunku who wasn't interested, or at kind of wing, you had Tyreek George or Sancho if he wasn't playing, etc. And you're just gonna our second squad either or second side, which either means off the bench or kind of subs. You're not going to see that much of a drop in quality, if you ask me.
Yeah, and that's there was a story, wasn't there, the other week that Maresca wants a 23-man squad for the season.
Hmm.
So that right there is 23 players with possibly you could see Josh Achimpong going out on loan potentially. We may see, and I think we'll see another attacker join. I just don't know in what profile, because even looking at this exactly backs up my point a minute ago of how versatile the attacking unit is. You've got at the minute in the four sort of attacking positions, Simmons is the only one who doesn't look like there's a backup of the way that we've laid it out. Obviously, Palmer can play in the 10, Esteval can play in the 10, João Pedro can play in the 10. But so if we were to sign Morgan Rogers, for example, you'd have Simmons/Rogers there. If we
Hmm.
were to go and sign Alexander Isak, you'd have Simmons/Pedro there, Isak/Delap as your striking options. But yeah, Pedro could still play up front if we needed to, etc. You might have Chelsea go, oh, do you know what? Somebody's come on the market, plays right wing predominantly. Okay, you put Palmer or Esteval as a sort of shoehorn them in with Simmons, and then you've got a right winger. So I think we'll get another attacker, and I think it'll be another versatile one who will just make it easy to then form that attack. But yeah, I just like the way that we've built this squad. I think we definitely got to sort the goalkeeper situation out. That's without a doubt. We also, I think one of it, I still think we want a centre back after Jarrell Hato probably. And if that was to happen, I think one of Tosin, Wes, or Trev would have to go.
Hmm.
Um,
I
I
don't
don't
think that would be a
necessarily.
priority for them. I think it'd have to be a
No,
couple of
it'd
sales
have to be an
because
opportunity, I think.
yeah, I agree, and I think that partly comes down to Josh, but partly comes down to the fact that we're quite bloated in that area. I mean, we don't have Badiashile on there, and we don't have Dasasi on the screen, but you've got those two. You've got Wes, Trev, and Tosin plus Colwell, like and Josh. Like you're talking 7, 8 centre backs for two spots there, and like yes, of course, Fofana doesn't play that often because he's always injured, and Josh can be back up at right back when James inevitably gets injured at some point next year. So there's going to be a lot of minutes for those guys. But I think for us to sign an out and out right centre back, I think they're going to want at least one outgoing, maybe even potentially two of Trev, Wes, or Tosin, because they have high stocks in Saar, who's obviously just returned to
Yeah,
loan in Strasbourg. They're absolutely raving about them. And to go back to what you were saying about Maresca wants a 23-man squad, what I had heard is it's 23 players of first team quality who you are definitely classing as as the first team, and then that might be sub- subsequently boosted up by people like Josh, like George, like maybe Kian Odaya or
but
somebody
that's the
like
thing.
that from the
We've
youth. So it's 23 plus youth basically.
we've not even included the likes of Dewsbury Hall or Badiashile on this list, who could quite easily still be part of the club coming into the new season. They could go. It's very feasible that both go, but also there's a chance that they could be involved. I always think the best way to build a squad, the numbers I like. It's like when you get to like a World Cup or whatever. I like 9 defenders, I like 5 midfielders, and I like 8 or 9 attackers.
Yeah.
And because it gives you full range of motion, full fluidity, and if you've got 1 or 2 injuries at the same time, you're not then really strapped. You've still got enough to cover and to get through. And even you look at defence, like if one of say Kukurea got injured, you've got Hato. If then Colwill got injured, you had to play Hato at centre back. You could, if you had to, put Gusto or Josh on the left. Like they can both do it. It's obviously not their best position, but they can do it if we require them to. And it's the same in midfield. Obviously, you've got Santos and Lavia and Nasugu, who are all superb midfielders. Like everyone knows how much I love Lavia. Like he's arguably a starter. Then how do you work that one? Oh, you could put Caicedo as the inverted right back thing again. I'm not a big fan of it personally, but I can see why it's done to get Enzo Lavia and Caicedo on the pitch at times without losing anything in attack. I like the look of the squad, mate. I think an attacking addition is required after Simmons, in my opinion. Who it is will be interesting. And obviously, the other person not involved in this is Jackson, who there is still a chance that he stays. If he stays, then
Yep.
I think Nkunku and Jackson have got to go before we can sign another attacker, to be honest. But
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll sign another one. And the reason I think that is because you've got Paez, you've got Quenda, you've got those guys coming in.
I don't think they
Plus,
care.
yeah, they obviously don't care, but you've also already got 7 attackers there without including Nkunku, Felix, or Jackson. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe they get something like another Sancho style deal for Garnacho, for example, where it's a loan with a option and a penalty clause if we send him back, type thing. I
But
think if they
we've
could
said
get something like that, that they would probably do that and add that position.
we've said a few times, haven't we, that we've done the majority of the business, so now it's on opportunities.
Yep.
And what this squad does leave us with is an opportunity that if it came up, you're ready to pounce. As long as you've made the sales you need to make, which will happen over the coming weeks, and Kunku will go, and the Jackson will go. I'm not mentioning any of the bomb squad. Badiashile, they're the 3 sort of that went to the Club World Cup that you think are definitely going to go, and Dewsbury Hall maybe as well. Them 3 or 4 are more than likely going to go, and then that leaves you with this squad that if an attacking opportunity comes up, we're ready to pounce instantly. If a centre back opportunity comes up, we could pounce, but one of really Trev or Tosin or Wes are going to have to be sold.
Yep.
And then if a
Agree.
goalkeeping one comes up, you just sell one of the goalkeepers. Like nobody really cares that much about Sanchez or Jorgensen, do they? Like,
It'd be very easy to move a Jorgensen on loan, for example. I know that he's had a lot of interest from a sales perspective, for example. But if a goalkeeper comes up, you could easily loan Jorgensen. I'd imagine quite a few Prem teams would be interested in that. Quite a few across Europe would probably be interested in that as well. So I don't think it'd be particularly difficult. And if you go and sign one, you probably Sanchez throws his toys out of his pram and wants to leave, and then all of a sudden you don't need to worry about it as well. So yeah, I think the squad's shaping up well. I think they need to do some outgoing business now once Simmons and Hato is over the line, and then we can see if any other opportunities, Chelsea's favourite word, come up. Before we move on, I'm going to show like how the squad could look in possession in a second, but just as a little bit of fun, without goalkeeper in mind, I'd like you to name on the screen your position or area of the pitch that you think we're most like the best in, and then also the one that you think is the weakest without goalkeeper.
midfield is our strongest. I think the midfield's so strong. I think all 5 of them could easily start. Obviously, Caicedo's the number 1 alongside Enzo currently, but any of them could start. Like if Caicedo gets injured, which touchwood he doesn't, I think obviously we'd see a slight drop off. But I think Asugu is that good that he could come in and cover for Caicedo really naturally. So I think that's probably our strongest at the minute. I think our weakest. Oh, that's really difficult. I would say centre back still. I would still say centre back. I still think that this time next year, if we're sat here and we've finished 4th or 5th in the league, we've done okay in the cups, it'll be because we're not strong enough at the back. And I think with Kukurea and James, we've got 2 of the best fullbacks in the world. Levi's been superb over the last 6 months. And he's really growing. I still feel like he needs that beast next to him.
Yeah, fair enough. For my answer to my own question, I'll take it slightly differently. I think 10 slash right wing. So I'm going to put that kind of area, the Simmons, Palmer, Esteval area on this on the screen. That's going to be my strongest. I think Simmons and Palmer would start for most teams, probably in the world in that 10 position. I will go as far as saying that. I agree with what you're saying about centre mid. I just don't want to be boring and say the same thing. And then to take it slightly differently as well, because if Wes is fit, I don't think there's many better Colwell and Wes partnerships in centre back out there. So I'm going to take it slightly differently, and I'm going to go for left wing. I think Gittins is a good profile, but unproven. Neto can play there, but he doesn't play there naturally. So I'd say left wing is just a little bit weak if you go down the route that Simmons is going to be the 10. But then also you could put Simmons out there. But that would be my answer for those. Um, to go on to the next screen here, we've just kind of mocked up how we think in possession everything's gonna work out, and probably makes me even more excited about the squad when you see how it's going to shape up in possession. Um, you obviously you could have Cucurella or Hato in that left centre back kind of role. You've got Fafana would start over Chalobah every day of the week if he's fit, but obviously Fafana is also a very good backup for it. As you mentioned, those four in midfield. I'm not going to include Asugu in this, but the four in midfield, I think they start for most midfields in the Premier League. Palmer and Xavi in the middle with Esteval as a backup to him. James and Gusto, very, very, very good top quality right backs when they're going forward in that wide role. Gittins holding width, and then Pedro and Delap up front. I think it's a fantastic squad and just echoes what we were just talking about, but in a bit more of an in possession image. Anything you want to add to that, mate?
No, I agree with everything you said, and it lines us up really, really nicely. And I like the way it's shaped up. You can also flip it so that everybody in the back line moves over once a Colwell goes to the left, Chalobah Fafana's in the middle, and then James or Gusto end up at the right centre back, and then Cucurella ends up bombing on. So yeah,
Yep.
I just think we're so fluid, and we could set up. We could talk about this for an hour realistically on how many different ways that we could set up,
Mhm.
or how we could see certain players rotating in and out of possession and etc. I think it looks really nice, and it really shows you what the plan is. And I think it's probably the first time properly in this regime that I felt like I actually fully 100% understand the plan.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think part of that is them learning. I mean, they've never been sporting directors solely or sporting directors at all before they joined Chelsea. And I think there's been a slight tweak to the model as well. We're not signing your Jacksons, your Mudriks, or your Nonnies who played like 20 games at their first team, and most of those not even in a top five league. You're talking about Gittins who'd played 40, 50 games for top level for Dortmund. You have Shambi Simmons who's played over 100 games at RB Leipzig. You've got João Pedro who's played over 100 games in the top flight of England. You've got Delap who's played like 40 games for Ipswich plus probably another 50 odd in the championship. So these aren't raw young talent anymore. I think it's still young talent, but they've kind of adjusted it to we don't want these players who could turn into world class or are going to flop. It's kind of they're a good level now, and then they can grow into world class. So I have to applaud them for those tweaks that they've done to that.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's nice to see that we've tweaked the model from a purchasing perspective because it needed it. And I think it was one of the big frustrations of Chelsea fans for the last sort of couple of years is that it felt like they were buying without a plan and buying young to flip them quite often, which has still been the case. And it's still a viable way of making money. I don't mind it at all. Like, look at Renato Vega, for example. It's a perfect example. You signed him for £11 million a year ago and you're going to flip him for 30.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Absolutely fine with that, as long as at the same time we're building a team to go and win. And I feel like that's what we're trying to do here. I don't think we're quite there yet, but you can definitely see that it's on the cards that within the next year or two we are really going to be challenging properly.
Yeah, I think what you'll find now is you'll find that you get these type of signings for the first team. You'll get signings for Strasbourg, either at Chelsea at Strasbourg and then loaning them to Strasbourg, which will be the little bit more unproven, or they'll buy them into Blueco unproven and they'll kind of try and keep them at Strasbourg. So you'll still find those players that you've not heard of or aren't mainstream youth players or they've not played that much, and they'll still be around and they'll still build them up. But for the first team at Chelsea, to make sure we're competing, you'll be at that level if they're not proven and older, which I still feel like that they would add if it's the right person. It would be your Xavi Simon type signing where they're 24-ish, and they've played over 100 minutes. So yeah, I really like that. I've stopped sharing this now, and we'll go on to kind of the final topic. So the predictions of how we compete, and what we're expecting from from the um, from the team. So from your perspective, if for Chelsea to have a good season, and let's break this down separately by competition first, and then we'll kind of put it together and make it a little bit more realistic because you probably won't hit those objectives from all of them. But Premier League to start with, what do you think is the minimum expectation, and where do you think we'll finish?
Well, the minimum expectation is to stay in the Champions League, isn't it? I think
Hmm.
that's the minimum expectation. So top four, top five, depending on coefficients. Um, yeah, that's it for the Premier League. Really, I don't have a high bar because it's so hard to compete over 38 games, and I feel like we're much better set up to perform in competitions in cups right now. One-off games we seem to really relish.
Yep.
So yeah, I think trying to just slowly build up that consistency in the league and getting the young squad to understand what it takes to really challenge over the course of a season. So if we can finish third, fourth, fifth, I'd be happy enough as long as we're not sneaking in. I want us to be comfortable in there. I don't want it to go
Yep.
down to the last day. I want it to be comfortable. That's it for the Premier League. I've got quite a
And
low
then
bar
what's
for
your
that this year.
actual prediction? I need a number. Where do you think we'll finish?
Fourth,
Fourth. Okay, that's fair enough.
just.
Yeah.
I really want to say third, but I think the end of the window I might change that depending on how it finishes.
Okay. And for my answer to that question, I'm going to say not. It is Champions League football, but it's fourth and above. I have to see us as the fourth best team, at least in England, because I think actually, if you look at it now, there's going to be quite a big drop off from your Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and Chelsea down to Newcastle, Villa, Forest. It's not going to be as tight as last year because we've strengthened a lot, a lot. I still don't buy that Tottenham and Man United will make that much of a difference back up because everybody else has already taken a step forward. So my minimum expectation is fourth. I also am saying that because I don't know how guaranteed a fifth spot will be this year. Last year we had us in the Conference League, which should win it. You had Man United and Tottenham in the Europa League, who were absolute favourites. So this year you've got Palace and Forest and people like that who are going to be in the sides who I expect them to do well, but they're not going to be out and out guaranteed favourites from the minute they start. So fourth is a minimum expectation, and I'm going to go one further, and I'm going to say we're going to finish third, and we're going to finish above Arsenal. Arsenal are going to be fourth.
That's what I wanted to say, and come the end of the
And then you
window,
bottled
I'm
it.
hoping I'll say that. Now I feel like we need a little bit more to do that.
Fair enough. I think goalkeeper's the biggest thing, but I also the way Maresca had been setting us up towards the back end of last season and even into the Club World Cup, we didn't leak that many goals. I don't think it will be as bad this season on relying on a goalkeeper. I think as long as they don't fuck up, basically, I think that we'll be okay. They won't really need to kind of bail us out too many times because we're going to be very solid all the way through. And with the players in attack, we could quite easily dominate most games. We'll bundle the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup together kind of what is your minimum expectations for both of those?
Well, I think for the Carabao Cup, I think I like I like us going on a run in it because it's always good to go deep into a competition early in the season because I think it then breeds confidence for the rest. And I almost think that's a little bit more important at times is to get that confidence into the group.
Hmm.
So I'm going to say we'll get to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and we will just sneak into the final. And then in the FA Cup, I think we'll get to like the sort of the quarter final, fall away.
Yeah, I think we have to go deep. We can't be going out to Newcastle or Brighton really early on like we did last year, especially the Brighton one. That was piss poor, to be completely honest with you. Um, Obviously, it's draw dependent. I mean, if you go and draw Man City in the first round and then
Yeah,
Liverpool in the second round, it's quite tough. But I would really want to see us competing with these top sides in the one-off games in home and away, and in any cups that we or Champions League if we get them. So yeah, I think quarters and semis in both would be good, and then if we can get to one of the finals at least, and I think for what you're saying as well is bang on. I think I'd probably prioritise the Carabao Cup because if we could go and win the Carabao Cup in like what's it, February, March time, the final
yeah.
usually, just as the Champions League kind of just starting back up, gives that boost of confidence into the side, into that run in of the Champions League and the Premier League. It'd be really good if kind of by Feb March it looks like Champions League is nailed on. For the following season, we could win a cup and then see how far we can get to in the Champions League. So yeah, I
Well, you
agree
look
with
you look at
those.
Newcastle, don't you? This year they won the Carabao Cup and then they managed to go on a run in the league and secure Champions League football. I think at the stage where this team is at, the FA Cup will always be more important. It's the FA Cup at the end of the day, but this season for what we need, going on a run in the Carabao Cup is important. And you look at last the Poch season, and as dire as that was, and as frustrating as that cup final was against Liverpool, after that we actually really turned a corner. So I just think getting to that final is really important. And also onto what you said, like we're going to experience the sort of the new Champions League this season for the first time, which we'll talk about it in a sec. But if you don't come in the top eight in the league phase, the Champions League doesn't stop for you all the way through until you get knocked out. So it's a constant, and that's just another thing you're gonna have to add on top.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, you want to try and get top eight. We'll obviously see, and we'll do some reaction to the fixtures that we get once they've done that draw. I don't actually know when that Champions League draw is, but I'll have a
It's
look while you
it's
answer this question.
mid to end August, I believe.
Okay. So Champions League expectations. What are you thinking?
I think I'll be realistic, just to qualify, just to get through the league phase, whether that's via the playoff or via the top eight, I'm not too bothered, to be honest. Um, I just feel we have to get through. Like it's just one of those things you've got to go and do. Only 12 teams get knocked out of 36, so you got two-thirds of a chance to get through. Which a team of our stature, we should be doing that quite comfortably. I'm really really excited. I love the Champions League regardless, but I loved it last season. I really like the new format, and I know everybody's not a fan, but
I am.
I'm a big fan of the new format, and I really really enjoyed watching it last year. So I'm really excited to see us playing in it. And yeah, I feel like we've got to take each game as it comes. We're going to have some big ties in there. You're guaranteed to play two of the big boys in your
Yeah.
first eight fixtures, and that's the other thing. It's eight fixtures rather than six, um, which is really nice, and it leads you up to January, I believe. So yeah, that's good. It's nice that that doesn't stop because I always hate that little break with the old Champions League where your last group game would always be sort of the start of December, and then you wouldn't play in the Champions League till February again. I used to hate that. Like the Champions League's the best competition in the world. You want to play as many games in it as you can. Like if the group games I think go until like the second or third week of January is the eighth game.
Yeah.
And then the playoffs are like 2 or 3 weeks later, so it really doesn't stop if you're in the playoffs. I think if
Hmm.
you get through in the top eight, there's a
A little bit of a
nice
break. Yeah.
there's a nice break, and then in terms of where I want us to get to, I'll be really happy if we get through to like the round of 16/quarter final. I would be quite happy with that given the circumstances. Don't get me wrong. If we went and signed Isak tomorrow, that changes, and I'm sure when it gets a bit closer to the end of the window, we will come back and we will do a full predictions video, and we'll
Yep.
do it in a bit more depth when we know our fixtures, we know potential runs and bits like that. We'll come back and do this properly. But for now, I would take a round of 16 or a quarter final at
hmm
a push.
Yeah, I would completely agree. You got to get through. That's a minimum expectation, and then it becomes draw dependent. I mean, you could be quite lucky, and all of a sudden you kind of get the easier run. I mean, none of the games in the Champions League are easy, but getting somebody like a Dortmund or somebody like that compared to a Barcelona, a PSG, a Real Madrid is massively different. So yeah, absolutely, you have to get through. I don't really care which way. I mean, I think for fixture congestion and longer term, we want to get through in that top eight. Um, so yeah, I think that's the same. So yeah, you're absolutely spot on. The match day 8 goes up till the end of January
Yeah,
this year, and then the draws after that, and then the draw for the round of 16 onwards is on the 27th of February. So if you get through in the top 8, you'll have a break from the Champions League from the end of January, and the first round of fixtures and round of 16 wouldn't start until the 10th of March. So you'd have a good
6
six
weeks.
weeks
Oh,
off
nice.
for the Champions League. Whereas if you're in the knockout phases, you're having those in the 17th, 18th of Feb, and then the second leg on the 24th, 25th. So you don't get a break. You get like a week, and then after the knockout phase, if you go through, you get another week, and then you're back into the Champions League. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, top 8 would be massive for the long term part of the season and fixture congestion, but just get through. I don't care how it is.
yeah, I
It'd
agree.
be interesting to see how the fixtures phase shape up, because you had um, last year you had it where like Real Madrid, Man City, and I think even PSG didn't get through in the top 8.
Yeah,
They all went through the knockout phase, so it'll be very interesting. It's going to be very fixture dependent on how
hundred
far we
percent.
can expect.
So with the draw, you have to play two teams from each pot. And
hmm
obviously, you've got pots 1 to 4. Pot 1 is the strongest. Pot 4 is the weakest. You got a few in the middle. But there were teams in like pot 3 last year that were like top European sides. So it's not going to be easy by any means. I don't know. I assume there's still qualification going on for it
Yeah,
at the
there
minute.
is. Yeah,
But I'd imagine, I don't know if you've got it there, mate. Have you got any of the already qualified teams in front of you?
I can find it in a second. Yeah,
Because I think that last year something like was it Leipzig? It might have been Leipzig. I think they performed pretty bad in it, to be fair. But I think they were in like the third pot. So if you're playing two teams in pot 1, let's say PSG and Barca, then two teams in pot 2, whoever that could be, and then Leipzig, you could still end up getting them in the third pot. That's like 4 or 5 of your 8 games are going to be an absolute struggle. Like you can see why teams aren't getting through in that top 8. It's the first time where the Champions League has really, really been draw dependent from the outset. To be honest,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got the pots in front of me now, but the kind of worst from pot 1 are kind of your Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG, Barcelona. Pot 2 is like Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen. They're probably the top ones there. Pot 3, you could have Tottenham, Napoli, Marseille, and pot 4, you've got Newcastle, Copenhagen, Monaco, Galatasaray, that type of thing.
where do we fall? Pot 1.
Yeah, we're pot 1. Yeah,
Of course we do. That's what we do.
it's all done on coefficients,
Yeah.
personal coefficients. So yeah, the one thing I don't know, and you might know the answer to this, I'm trying to look at it while we're talking, but can you play somebody from your own country in the group
No, I
phase?
don't believe you can.
I know you couldn't previously, but obviously after 8 games, I still don't believe you can, but I don't know that for
I
sure.
think I think they've brought it in because it used to be you couldn't face anybody from your country until the quarterfinal. You can now meet them. I think you can meet them in the playoff
Round
now because
16, round of
oh
16.
round of 16.
I just googled it quickly. No, you cannot play in the initial league phase of the Champions League format. Teams cannot be drawn against other people from their own country. However, this restriction is only for the league phase. So yeah, you would be able to in the
The
knockout
playoff,
phase as
because
well.
the way that the playoff works is like if the team that finishes ninth, so the top of the playoff group, if you
Yeah,
like, not, and the team that finishes 24th play each other. So if
yeah,
Newcastle finished 24th and we finished ninth, we would have to
yeah.
play Newcastle.
Hmm.
So it's a bit earlier. See, I think they should scrap that rule, bring it back, play them whenever. Why does it matter? Like,
Yeah, I think they might get that way because they'll want more and more big games. I just
yeah.
think to start with, they probably just,
But
especially
you
as it's a
think
one-off. It's not
if
like a
Newcastle are pot
two.
four,
Yeah.
just
Well, it just means that for us, I mean, the worst team in pot four would be Monaco or Galatasaray, really.
but you look at that, right? So you could have Monaco or Galatasaray as two games in pot three. Who did you say was pot three
You
again?
got
Napoli.
Marseille, Napoli, or PSV are probably the hardest ones in
So you
there.
look at them. Then in pot two, you've got the likes of
It's just
Leverkusen.
Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid, Juventus.
So if you fell really bad on a draw, you've got 8 really tough games there.
Mm.
Oh no, I like this new format. I know a lot of people don't like change today. I know a lot of people
I
aren't
like it, and
massively
I don't think I
convinced.
had that issue with the change because I play Football Manager, and it was in there the year before it
Yeah,
actually came out. So I had my head round it before it actually
yeah.
came out in real life because it was in the game from the September when the new FM came out. So I kind of got my head round it that way. So by
The
the time it was in real life, I kind of knew what was going on.
My favourite day of football last season, away from Chelsea winning the 2 trophies, was the last group phase Champions League game.
Yeah,
So all 18 games were played at the exact same time on the exact day, and on TNT or BT or wherever it's held, they had like a goal show, and it was just utter chaos. It was
chaos. Yeah.
fantastic to watch, and it's what football's all about.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. So, all right, so we'll wrap up now because we've been going on for a little while. But we've obviously said top four, two good cup runs, kind of quarterfinals and further on, and then Champions League. You want to get through into the round of well, the knockout phase, basically, not the playoffs, but the knockout phase. If you're kind of putting them all together, because we're probably not going to achieve all of those because of draws, etc., and maybe injuries and stuff like that. High level, what are you expecting from this season when you group it all together?
I think I want consistency. I want us to compete in the games against the teams that are at the top, and I want to see us lift a trophy as always. Um, I think if the question was you had to suffer one competition this year where you get knocked out in the first round or whatever it is, I think it would be the FA Cup I'd swallow this year.
Yeah,
And
fair.
I hate that because I love the FA Cup. I love the FA Cup so much, but I just feel like because of the time of year it's held, I feel like the Carabao Cup is more important for the squad we have. Trying to gain momentum and win early could help us. If we're still challenging come February in the league, you go and win a Carabao Cup and suddenly look how confident we are. That's really could be the difference. And I think that's actually what spurred us on in our 04-05 season. Like, we were brilliant, obviously, but when you won the Carabao Cup against Liverpool at the Millennium Stadium, Chelsea were fantastic after that for the rest of the season, and it was a squad that weren't used to winning that got used to winning, and I just feel like that could be really important.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Top four, yeah, if you're going to have to go for one cup, go for the Carabao Cup just because of the timing of it, and then get through to the knockout phases of the Champions League. Last question I'll ask you before we wrap up. It was a little bit of fun. I saw it on the Pitch Side podcast. They asked one of the Arsenal fans on there, would you rather finish 17th but win the Champions League, or get to the final in every single competition and lose on penalties on all of them, but come second and comfortably second? Which one are you
I,
choosing?
I saw that, and obviously the Arsenal fan said second and penalties, losing on penalties, which is pathetic. I'd rather
Yeah,
do what? I'd rather finish 17th and win a trophy every single day of the
especially the
week,
Champions League.
especially the champion. To be honest, I'd have taken what Spurs did last year.
Yeah, facts.
17th
Yeah,
win
facts.
Europa League and you're in the Champions League, fine. Like no issues with that at all.
If it wasn't the Champions League, it would be something else because I think Champions League for us is very, very important longer term. But yeah, if it's win Champions League and finish 17th, sign me up. I'll suffer all year.
Yeah.
I just won't watch football at the weekend, and I'll just watch it at the midweek. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think only Arsenal fans have that mentality, mate.
Yeah, losers, mate. Absolute losers. That's why London will always be blue. And to wrap that up, really appreciate everybody listening. Please comment down below if there's anything that you want to see from us, anything you'd like to see. We're going to start trying to incorporate listeners' comments into the podcast. Choose the top comment from the time before and do a little chat about whatever they're saying. So give us opinion on a transfer, on what you think we should do, or what you'd like to see us do, and we'll try and include it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment here to enter into the giveaway, and follow us on all our other socials, which is the Blues Feed pretty much everywhere apart from on Instagram, where it has an underscore underneath it. So really appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you next time.